Hello, everyone, and namaskar. So today's podcast is a continuation of the reading of the book titled Idea and Ideology. And this is a reading of the 6th chapter titled Atman, Paramatman and Sadhana. Due to internal clash and cohesion amongst the three immanent principles, sentient, mutative, and static, the resultant force bursts out at any one vertex of the triangle formed due to the ever-flowing eternal force. Purusha, or consciousness, is the nucleus from whom commences the process of sanchara, or uniform movement from the subtle to the gross, from the one to the many. Mahatattva, Ahang-tattva, and Chitta are formed as a result of the increasing crudeness, and mind is born at the stage where all three, Mahatattva, Ahang-tattva, and Chitta, are present. The original entity is the unqualified, undivided macrocosm. By further crudification, the Chitta gets metamorphosed into 5 fundamental factors, namely ethereal, aerial, luminous, liquid, and solid. Right from nucleus Purushottama to the crudest solid, there is no change in Purusha Deha. The action and interaction of the three forces of Prakriti cause a change in appearance, whereby the transcendent entity appears to have lost its transcendentality. This phase of evolution, named sanchara, is the inanimate phase of creation and represents the cosmic mind or macrocosm in different stages. In the living bodies, after the formation of crudest Chittitattva, or solid factor, division and association of matter result in the formation of mind. The process of pratisanchara commences at this point. It is the counter movement, wherein the unit mind gets dilated ever increasingly. The volume and mass of the unit mind increases due to the increasing reflection of cosmic consciousness, and matter gets decimated continuously. Till the end, the unit mind achieves mental liberation. Philosophy terms it Savikalpa Samadhi. Throughout Pratisanchara, the unit mind or microcosm exists in different stages. Thus, the inanimate phase of creation or sanchara is a stage of the cosmic mind, and the animate phase of Pratisanchara is a stage of unit minds. Each and every atom and molecule of the macrocosm is nothing else but Purushottama. It is he who radiates himself everywhere. It is he who is omnipresent as the witnessing entity as well. As the sun by its radiation pervades the solar system, so does Purushottama, his system, by his Chitti Shakti. Thus in the cosmic mind, both the radiated stuff and the witnessing entity are Purushottama himself. In the second phase of evolution, that is, at the different stages of the unit mind, Purushottama is the witnessing entity, all other objects being crude derivatives of Chitta. In the phases both of Sanchara and Pratisanchara, Purushottama is the consciousness. He witnesses the microcosms and macrocosm. Purushottama is therefore also called collective consciousness. As witnessing entity, Purushottama connects himself to his mental object with the help of his avidya maya, and reflects himself on the object as Chitti Shakti. This reflection is not like a reflection in a mirror, but a reflection involving association like the rays of the sun. Association of Purushottama with the cosmic mind, whereby he functions as the witnessing entity, is called Proto-yoga. Association of Purushottama with the unit minds, separately and individually, whereby he functions as the witnessing entity for each individual unit mind, is called Otta Yoga. His association with the unit minds in collectivity is also termed Prota Yoga. Thus, in Sanchara, there is only Prota Yoga, but in Pratisanchara, both Prota Yoga and Otta Yoga are there. It has been fully explained previously that the resultant force of Prakriti burst out from one of the vertices of the triangle of forces of Prakriti, is the origin of creation. The midpoint of this triangle of forces, from whose vertex the bursting occurred, is Purushottama. The midpoints of these triangles of forces having bursting vertices coincide, and hence Purushottama is a singular entity. Philosophers have defined Paramatman as a collective name for Purushottama, his Prota Yoga in Sanchara and Otta and Prota Yogas in Pratisanchara. Paramatman signifies conscious of creations. It is the consciousness in the nucleus and the consciousness in the macrocosm and microcosms. Macrocosm and microcosms themselves have not been included in Paramatman. The collectivity of Paramatman, macrocosm, and microcosms is Saguna Brahma. That is, Brahma in which Prakriti appears in manifestation. In Saguna Brahma, Purushottama is the nucleus consciousness, and so the latter is also named Kutashta. The nucleus consciousness, or the Atman, in the unit structure is also called Kutashta Chaitanya. Its controlling station is the middle point between the eyebrows, the place where the functioning of the pituitary gland is located. Sanchara is movement away from the nucleus, the nucleus itself being the center of Brahma Chakra, or the great cycle of creation. The force of Sanchara is therefore centrifugal. Philosophy refers to this outward movement as domination by avidya maya, or illusion of ignorance. Under the effect of avidya maya, creation moves from the subtle to the gross, finally reaching the farthest point in Sanchara, where the crudest solid, or Chiti Tattva, is formed, where the metamorphosed form of the Chitta possesses the maximum chemical affinity, with no possibility of any further reduction in the intermolecular and interatomic process. Depending on conditions, either the unit structure bursts at this point or Jadasvota occurs, or the mind is formed by a process of division and association of matter. The formation of mind is the start of the process of Pratisanchara, or the cycle for the unit to progress from the crude to the subtle. This progress is effected by the domination of Vidyamaya, or illusion of knowledge, whereby the direction of motion is towards the nucleus, Purushottama, the center of all creations. Every step in this direction is a step nearer the center, the destined goal of all, the ultimate result of all creations. This force is centripetal and is associated with the growing attraction of Purushottama. This attraction is his blessing, by which he leads every being of his towards the kindly divine light. The associated reflection of Purushottama increases the proximity of the unit mind to Purushottama. The mind proportionately expands and progresses till the gradual expansion brings about similarity of the microcosm and the macrocosm, and the former gets merged into the latter. This process occurs in Pratisanchara, under the centripetal force of attraction from the nucleus consciousness, Purushottama. The unit mind, however, can accelerate the speed of this motion by realizing his blessing more and more, and thereby acquiring a psycho-spiritual parallelism with greater speed. This attempt to accelerate the movement towards the ultimate goal is sadhana. Only human beings possess the ego to perform this sadhana. Spiritual sadhana is nothing but the attempt to accelerate the motion of Pratisanchara and thereby cover up the painful hours of divine separation as early as possible. The touchstone of spiritual sadhana is therefore the feeling that I am tending towards him. Every delayed moment of life is only a moment of pain. That alone which brings his realization is his spiritual practice, all other actions being ritualistic ostentations. Consciousness in the psychophysical unit structures gets manifested in the process of Pratisanchara, when Purushottama by his Otta Yoga associatively reflects on the unit psychic plate. It is through this process, Pratisanchara, that the ever-merciful elevates each creation of his by the force of Vidyamaya. As already discussed, the physical and psychic clash and the attraction of the great cause psychic dilation, and ultimately, the unit psychic body can attain its final liberation or mukti by its spiritual sadhana. Different unit minds exist at different levels and experience varying degrees of his love and proximity depending upon their progress in the process of pratisanchara. The auspicious day of infinite Ananda descends, and all the bondages of Prakriti shatter down when Brahmatva is attained. Such individuals set the ideal for humanity, and in turn, humanity starts paying homage to them. Only such elevated beings can and should be called Mahapurusha, meaning thereby elevated psychic beings. Unto their holy feet, one can offer the flowers of devotion and aspiration, but they desire no crude earthly flowers and offerings. The advent of Mahapurusha is misinterpreted as incarnation. Incarnation is an illogical hypothesis. The whole universe being created out of him and by him is his incarnation. The term avatara means a derivation, and the application of this term to individual units who are far advanced in the process of pratisanchara is a misleading misnomer. It is illogical to consider that the macrocosm metamorphosed himself directly into some unit structure, in most cases a human being. Human beings are the most evolved individual units as a class in his creation, and every stage of the elevated psychic Mahapurusha is the result of sanchara and then pratisanchara. It is a gradual elevation, and not an abrupt descent or occurrence. Logically speaking, therefore, it would be correct to designate any unit consciousness as incarnation of God, or to say that the messenger of God traverses the path of sanchara, goes through a process of evolution and importance, and through psychic dilation in the process of pratisanchara reaches different stages of elevation. The incarnation theory, or Avataravada, however, hypothesizes that the incarnated being is a direct descent of the Almighty, the rest of his creation remaining unexplained as to its source of origin. The word avatara derives from avatar, which means descend, derive, or degenerate. The incarnated being, according to this dogma of degeneration of Purushottama, cannot have an equal status with Purushottama. When the psychic status of a created being assumes sameness with the cosmic entity, the unit psychic entity actually merges into the cosmic mind, leaving no dualism. Hence, how can any equal status with Purushottama be imagined existing as a separate entity in any stage within Brahmachakra? The whole theory of incarnation, or Avataravada, is therefore not convincing and rational for an intellectual analysis. Behind the superstitious belief of Avataravada lies one more social current created by a class of vested interests. Inquisitiveness and reasoning is a natural impulse in human beings. Due to certain pressing circumstances or intellectual renaissance, there was a reaction against the illogical faiths and superstitions prevailing in society. These superstitions provided a strong basis for exploitation of society by intellectual parasites who had learned to live on the blood and labor of others. To maintain their domination through a system of superstitious belief, these parasites invented means to curb this growth of reaction and intellectual rationalism and presented to the mass a sentimental appeal. Any command, rational or irrational, was enforced on society with so-called divine force by enunciation of the incarnation theory. Corruption was perpetrated in the name of God, and all those raising their heads against such commands or preachings were called reactionaries, atheists, and curbed drastically. Give the dog a bad name and hang it was their motto. They went to the extent of manipulating, polluting, and misinterpreting even the precious writings of many great philosophers, whose work had been respected as religious treatises from ancient times, all with an ulterior motive, to get their interests served. Tāraka Brahma. In Brahmachakra, the collective name of sanchara and pratisanchara, there is no uniformity of flow. The speed of the sentient force is greater than that of the mutative, and the mutative has more speed than the static. Thus, in the beginning of sanchara, the speed is greater. Similarly, after elevation, under the influence of the sentient force, or reaching samanya deha, a stage beyond the hiranmaya kosha, where the unit mind experiences only the sentient force, the speed is greater. The speed of the unit mind far exceeds the normal flow in the cosmos, and it gets accelerated if the unit mind, as a result of spiritual practice, tends itself towards the nucleus consciousness. Since the beginning of creation, humans have been aspiring for this merger with the nucleus consciousness. The non-uniformity of speed changes the movement of the unit mind to an elliptical force, and the motion changes to oval from circular. They get merged in Purushottama, who aspire for him as the ultimate destiny. But those who aim at moksha, where sadhana is the complete surrender of self into that nirguna Brahma, the objectless consciousness, get out of this Brahma chakra by a tangential touch. At this point of tangential touch is the abode of Tāraka Brahma, who resides within the scope of both nirguna and saguna Brahma. Tāraka Brahma is a concept of Tantra. In Tantra, the whole creation is known as Sambhuti. When Tāraka Brahma, by his own will, takes the help of the 5 fundamental factors, the Panchabhutas, his physical entity comes within the scope of Saguna Brahma. Otherwise, he is Nirguna Brahma. When Tāraka Brahma takes the assistance of the 5 fundamental factors, according to Tantra, it is called his Mahasambhuti. In Tantra Sadhana, or in Anandamarga Sadhana, one whose goal is Purushottama merges in Saguna Brahma, and one who aims at Nirguna Brahma becomes surrendered into the objectless entity. It is only in Tantra that the sadhana of Tāraka Brahma has been specially defined distinct from the sadhana of Nirguna and Saguna and has its own peculiarity. Theoretically speaking, Saguna Brahma has infinite samskaras, and so for an infinite time to come, Saguna Brahma will continue to enjoy the fruit of its own past actions. Nirguna is the objectless entity with no action or derivation. But Tāraka Brahma is the middle point and can fulfill the function of both. He guides, loves, and favors his affectionate sons and daughters. His children say that he cannot live without loving them and address him, "O our great Father, our affectionate Mother, our all. We remember thee. We adore thee. O witnessing entity, we offer our homage to thee. Thou art the only rescue in this crude worldly ocean. So to thee we surrender ourselves." This complete surrender is the summum bonum of all spiritual sadhana, which can only lead to him from where decline is not even imaginable. Really blessed is one who has attained this complete surrender unto him, like the piece of salt which went to measure the depth of the ocean. But a momentous divine jerk and an attraction occurred, and the bit of salt was lost. No one knows where. June 1st, 1959. Thank you.